Hey everyone, and welcome back. So this is called Faking It. When Lou and Peter announce their separation, Amy tries to help a devastated Georgie through the transition. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I think they're being ridiculous with this separation. You know, Peter even said that he agreed with Lou that maybe they hadn't thought about it enough, maybe they were making the wrong decision, but then he still ultimately wanted to go through with it. And I was like, well, if you're still questioning it, then you haven't made the right decision. The right decision would be if you thought, yes, this is what is ultimately best. No questions, no doubt about it. But he agreed with her that maybe they rushed the decision. So if he feels like he rushed the decision, or she did, they're not making the right one. So I think they're being stupid personally, because I don't think they've explored all avenues. I know she went there to work on their marriage, and she had said things that they, you know, like they took like picnic on the beach, a walk in the park, which obviously she didn't go into much detail. It's like, what did they discuss? But the one thing, of course, that she hasn't mentioned, which I've mentioned, is marriage counseling. Like, why the hell haven't they talked about marriage counseling? Try that first. So personally, I think they're being stupid. And, you know, Georgie is probably going to think it's her. And it's like, great, you know, so Georgie, who has been in foster homes pretty much all of her life, is now going to be part of a broken home. Instead of having a mother and father, I mean, obviously they both still love her. But instead of her growing up in a stable environment with a mother and a father, that's not going to happen. And some may argue, well, you know, Peter isn't really there all the time, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's true, but he is still around. And it's just, I think they're making the wrong decision. But let's get started. That's nice that she's gonna help out.
So, Amy, have you started working on the seating chart for the reception?
Not yet, but I'll get to it soon.
Everything is
What's
awkward
going on?
and comfortable because everyone knows but Georgie.
Divorce.
Uh,
What do you mean divorce? Who's getting a divorce?
well, they shouldn't get a divorce. They're being stupid. But Katie, of course, who doesn't totally understand though, obviously, hears a word and repeats it. And, you know, you could see obviously the awkwardness there at that dinner. I like how, you know, talking about the book report, and she says it's not due for weeks, and he says it's not open for discussion. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if she gets the book report done then, at least then she doesn't have to worry about it, you know. I didn't keep up with it, but one time my parents told me, at least in some classes, to look ahead on what my assignments were and do it early, because then you would have that free time when it came time to it. And I only did it like once or twice. I don't know, I think I just forgot after that to keep doing it. But I thought, you know, that's actually a good idea. You know, kids never want to do their homework and never want to do it early. But in a situation like that, it's like, well, if she does do her book report and gets it done, then yeah, then when it comes time for it to be due, she can focus on other stuff. They're still being stupid.
Georgie,
Of course she found
Is it
out for the
true?
audition.
Yeah. We're getting separated.
Why are you doing this?
It's
Because they're
complicated.
stupid.
Why? Why is it complicated?
I guess the bottom line is we stop listening to each other.
What does that even mean?
Valid point.
No, I don't want to talk to.
Yeah, just looking at pictures of them. You know, I agree with what Lou said. It took Georgie so long to trust them. I mean, you know, you can't blame Georgie with her life in foster care. And then she finally gets people who want her, and even though the divorce really doesn't have anything to do with her, she of course is still going to think it does. I think kids always think it has to do with them. And I do get the part about if they're unhappy, the kids pick up on it, because it is true. However, again, I don't think Lou and Peter have exhausted all options. And Lou keeps asking, are we doing the right thing? And it's like Peter just doesn't want to consider any other options. And I'm like, you are a freaking idiot if you are not. You know, I keep saying marriage counseling. And I know maybe marriage counseling wouldn't fix it. But how do they know unless they try? They go to marriage counseling, they talk, they get some stuff out, then maybe they can say, hey, yeah, we can move on, let's start again. Or maybe they'll be like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work. And they are right, honesty and communication are both keys in relationships. And, you know, I kind of liked Tim's comment when she was talking about, I want to stay here and Peter wants to stay in Vancouver. And Tim was like, so it's about his job. And it's like, kind of, yeah. He wants to build a life there. And if Lou and Georgie and Katie all lived in Vancouver, maybe things would be different. Because I do think they fight a lot because of him being gone half the time. So I think that's part of it. And also, of course, you know, her having to make decisions without him. But at the same time, it's like, there are couples who do long distance relationships that work. They make it work. I've mentioned this before. You know, the main actors from Supernatural. Their lives are in Texas, but they filmed in Vancouver. So, you know, when it came to decisions regarding kids and stuff, I'm sure that they were in touch all the time. You know, I'm sure that they were texting their wives, face chatting. They would fly back, I think, on weekends and stuff like that. So they still tried to be there and be a part of it. So they were making it work. They were making conscious efforts. And I know at least one of the wives sometimes would fly up to be with her husband. Sometimes take the kids and sometimes not. One of the other wives I don't think cared that much. But, you know, they worked on it because they loved each other and they wanted to make it work. And so it did. And Texas and Vancouver, you know, that's a hell of a longer distance than Vancouver and Alberta. It just seems like Peter doesn't want to give anything because he can work from home. And again, as I also said, Lou could have always made a point of visiting him once a month. You know, if he's gone for 2 weeks, she could go visit him for a week. There are things you can do to make it work. And they didn't do that. So they have not exhausted all options. Come on, Georgie! Lou's there. Where's Peter? I like that
Go ahead,
jacket.
Rosie.
Show me what you got.
Oh.
You know, if you're not interested, you could just forget it.
She realized she said the wrong thing.
Hey, Caleb. Hey, he is my partner.
I know, but I thought he wasn't going to be involved in the day-to-day.
And
Yeah.
I thought me giving you that big bag of money meant it wasn't your business anymore.
And of course, that's partially coming because of everything going on. Like, you care about the audition. You really do. You're just being a child because you are a child. And yeah, Ty basically said that he was going to hold on to the money, you know? So yeah, I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to give Caleb back the money for the loan. And the guy was like broke, washed up rodeo cowboy, and I'd be like, yeah. See, a good comeback would have been, yeah. Who did your sister? You know, that's probably what I would have come back with. Granted, that probably would have gotten a punch in the jaw, but still it would have been worth it just, you know, just to watch Jesse's reaction to it. And obviously then he either knew or Cassie told him. I don't know. Because he said something like, you can have her. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so obviously they did break up. So either Cassie told Jesse, or Jesse, of course, saw or figured it out. But it's like, well, of course Caleb gets girls. You know, and he said broke, and I'm like, money isn't everything, Jesse. I mean, look at you. You supposedly have money because you're part of the Stanton family. I don't see you having women dripping off of you. So it's not always about the Benjamins.
If you're here to change my mind, you can save your breath. Georgie, I get that things are scary and confusing right now. I have no idea how I feel. I do know what it's like to have your whole world turned upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
So Georgie's gonna do that other move that she was working with Amy on, and she's gonna nail it. It's gonna be beautiful. But couldn't they do the same move? I mean, you know, she says she stole my signature move, and I'm like, well, couldn't you both do the same thing? And they see who's better at it? I mean, okay, yeah, she did that signature move, but maybe she did something wrong, and maybe you would do it right. You know, his title's Faking It, and obviously, you know, Georgie asked Jack how long Lou and Peter had been faking it. But I think the faking it can also refer to Olivia kind of faking it with being a friend. Although, like I said, I do think they are kind of on the path towards becoming friends, which I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if that's necessarily right, because they make it seem like on TV, like you can always like change your enemies to your friends, and sometimes you can't, you know? Sometimes people are just shitty, and no matter what you do, they're not going to like you, you know? I mean, I find the older I get, the less I care if people like me or not. I'm just like, whatever. You like me, fine. If you don't, that's your problem. You know, like, I'm not going to waste my time trying to get you to like me if you don't. You know, some people just don't like you for whatever reason. It's because of them. It's something internal with them that they don't. And so obviously it's a reflection on Olivia. But I don't know. You know, it's kind of like, because Mallory ended up having issues with some girls. Or, better example, look at Amy and Ashley. Ashley was kind of like a frenemy, you know, they were in competition, and then all of a sudden they were friends. And it was like, okay, now you're friends. And so I have a feeling that that's what's going to happen, that Georgie and Olivia are eventually going to be friends. But maybe not. I kind of like the thought of them not, and continuing to still be kind of like enemies all throughout school, because that seems a little more realistic than them suddenly becoming buddies. Oh, shit.
Hey! What the hell do you think you're doing? I got all my job offers.
Stuck up fiance? Get him! Get him, Ty! Good job. The survey guys are just watching. They're not doing it. Oh, well, I guess they are going to fight. Help him. Yeah, he's crazy, but...
You are being offered the spot on the extreme team. Congratulations. You're going to be a great addition to the team.
Nice job, Georgie! And then they kind of looked a little awkward, and I was like, just get back together. Okay, this is like the second time that Ty has been beaten up that bad. She goes to Jack. Well, you kind of deserve that because you're being stupid, Peter. Maybe you're not making the right decision. You ever think of that?
When my mind goes dark, I can't find the missing part. Pick me up and dust me off. Pick me up and dust me off. Pick me up and dust me off.
You may not agree with what I'm saying regarding Lou and Peter, and that's fine. We all have different opinions. But yeah, I just think they're being stupid. I think they need to get their heads out of their asses. You know? People say love isn't always enough. Love is always enough. If you truly love someone, you make it work. You find a way to make it work. So I personally think they're being stupid and they're not trying hard enough. Especially Peter. He just seems to... He says, oh, I don't make this decision lightly. It's like, really? Because you even said... Maybe you were rushing into it, but yet you still wanted to go through with it. Maybe you're not right. I mean, what if you do go through it and then you regret it? You know, sometimes you have to separate to come back together. George said something about that in Nancy Drew when she and her boyfriend Nick, they kind of broke up, and she said, you know, we have to like break up to come back together. And I'm like, first of all, you guys are idiots because you're like perfect together, so they better get back together. But she did make a valid point, you know, sometimes you need to grow apart to grow together, is what she was saying. And, you know, I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe if they separate for a bit, separate and not necessarily divorce, but just separate, give it like a 3 or 6 month period. Say, we're going to be separated for 6 months. We'll still, of course, be in touch, but let's see how we feel. Maybe we will miss each other so much in that 6 months that we'll get back together and find a way to make it work. It does happen. There are couples who separate and get back together. There are couples who divorce and get back together. So it does happen. But only if you make it work. And I don't feel like Peter is willing to put in the effort to make it work. The next episode says the wedding could be off when Ty is booked for assault. So, you know, he says, I think I'm in trouble because he realizes that going after Jesse could get... But I'm thinking to myself, well, why doesn't he countersue because of the time that Jesse decked him? That was in a room full of people. So just counter it, you know, with that. So we know obviously everything will be okay because they get married in the next episode. But I also said it was kind of surreal that Lou is talking about Amy's wedding when she's going through a separation. Like, that's got to be hard, you know? I mean, we saw flashbacks, her, you know, planning her wedding and getting married to Peter and stuff like that. And it's like, it still would be hard. It definitely would. You know? And it's got to be a bit surreal for her. So, thank you for joining me for this reaction. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are Peter and Lou making the right decision? I personally do not think so. What could they have done differently? Is there still a chance for them? We'll find out. And you can't blame Georgie for being upset, you know. He said, I love you, and she just kind of walked away, and I'm like, can't blame her. With everything going on in her life, you can't blame her. Hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the notification bell to be alerted of future reacts. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I will see you next time. Bye.